Hello everyone, welcome or welcome back. It's Paula with Paula's Imperfect Plans. On my channel, I share all of our personal finance information as well as my all sorts of personal planning, getting back into sharing more planning content. Today we're working on finances, and we are going to go ahead and set up our paycheck budget as we are getting paid in just a few days. Sometimes I set it up earlier, but here we are. So what I am in here, what I use, this is just this is a Happy Planner, a big Happy Planner cover, and some classic size Happy Planner metal discs. But in here currently, I do not have a Happy Planner. I have, so I kind of created my own dashboards, pages for each month. And then I have purchased the Budget Mom's Budget by Paycheck workbook. I have the printable version, and so I just print the pages that I use. So this is her monthly. I doll it up a little bit when I feel like it. And then I use the paycheck budget tracker, that cash envelope breakdown. Yep. And then the expense tracker pages. So this is kind of a put it together myself sort of situation. What I thought I would do is go through just really briefly for anyone who is new what our how I do this a little bit. I come on here and I show our breakdown. So what we're going to do today, is we are going to set up our paycheck budget for the paycheck that we'll receive on August 22nd. When I say I'm a paycheck budgeter, this is a little bit different than the way the Budget Mom shows how to do things. So this is I'm just showing my way and how we do it. So our paychecks for August. So while we budget by paycheck, as in we budget every paycheck out, we're paid every 2 weeks. And our variable expenses specifically we budgeted for variable expenses, like groceries, dine out, spending money, all of that stuff. We took that money out on the 8th when we got paid, and it has to get us all the way through the 21st. So for our variable expenses like that, the cash variable expenses that we stuff in our wallet, that really does cover us for 2 weeks at a time, regardless of the day of the month. So when we get paid on the 22nd, those variable expenses will take us through September 5th and into the next month. But I do still budget on a monthly, on kind of at a high level. I budget monthly, and I don't show that because this is something that, quite honestly, I've had this breakdown for years. I don't even think I have what I used to use before I was zero-based budgeting. So as a whole, I still look at my month. We're paid every 2 weeks, so there are those magic months where we do receive 3 paychecks. But aside from that, most typically, we get paid twice a month. So some years ago, when I started budgeting or paying my own bills, and I don't think I've ever been paid anything other than biweekly. I have before switched Fridays when I switched a job, and my husband did at a couple points in time get paid weekly, but that's been quite some time ago. We've been paid bi-weekly on the same Friday for a long time, and which is great, but when I go back and explain how we set this up to begin with, sometimes it's second nature because I've been doing this for so long. But at whatever point we looked at our bills, I essentially assign each bill to either the first paycheck or the second paycheck based on the due date. We have for instance, life insurance is one of our larger bills. We have several policies, including some on our children and my husband and myself. So that comes out the 4th of the month. We have it set up so that in the month of August, I take half out of the 8th, half out of the 22nd to cover September's life insurance payment. So we're not a month ahead on everything by any means. There's a lot of things we pay in the current month, but that is one that the money that came out on August 4th as an auto debit got set aside from our 2 July paychecks. Everything else, I think we pay, as it, comes out, like the month that it's due. We're not a month ahead on anything. I find it really easy to track where I'm at. And so instead of focusing on a month ahead, I'm going to just put additional money in our emergency fund in case at any point we need that to cover wages. So essentially everything gets assigned a paycheck. We have significantly downsized. We had 2 mortgages at one point in time, essentially a mortgage and a HELOC. The mortgage is paid off. The HELOC is now down to 1 balance transfer card that we're still paying on, but we used to. So our mortgage was due the 1st, and so that would come out of, the second check of the previous month, and then our HELOC would come out of the first check for the current month, that kind of thing. But I don't have those anymore. So my bigger bills are mainly our electric bill, which is quite large, and then we do a lot of saving. A lot of our bills are, and by saving, I mean saving for bills. So you don't see car insurance on here. You don't see homeowners insurance. You don't see property taxes. Those are all things that I save for. These are the monthly bills that come out. So when I hop in here and we look at these bills, you'll be able to see what gets paid and how we break it down a little bit better. So this paycheck is the paycheck that we are getting on August 22nd. The only thing that I'm planning for is income. There will probably be additional things that will end up being in here at the end, but I'm just planning for our income. I am budgeting $1,206.33 for myself, and for my husband $1,721.44. That is after all deductions and everything comes out. This was a pretty significant bump starting in July because my husband used to have Flex, and we took the max in his Flex account out that we could. So that was $133 a paycheck that got put back into our budget. And so I'm now like, okay, but we also don't have any medical funds. So we are working to use that money wisely as it comes back into our budget. Okay, so that puts us with a total of $2,927.77 that we are looking at for income. Internet is one of the bills that we split in half. It's not a huge bill, but we do it anyway. So the second half of that is $29.11 that I'll need to save for the bill that's due then on the 28th. Our cell phone bill is usually around $196.10, so that's what I'm going to plan for it. I don't at this time have anything budgeted for donation out of this paycheck. Life insurance, we set aside $131. So now we move down, and then our daycare is $225. So for anyone who is new, we saved all school year long for our summer daycare sinking fund. And then during the summer, we set aside $200, or not set aside, but we budgeted $200 from every paycheck to put towards our daycare bill, towards our nanny or our sitter or whatever. And the rest came out of our daycare sinking fund. This is the last week of summer. So I pay her, so this payday is Friday. I will pay her the 21st because she works 3 days for us, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So I will write her a check on the 21st, and it will be covered with our check on the 22nd. There's only $100 left in our daycare sinking fund because we're at the end of the summer. I budgeted it pretty tightly. So even though it's normally $200, I need it to be $225 this week, or this paycheck, to give her full amount. And then these last ones here, I treat them as fixed expenses. They are technically, they are sinking funds, but they are saving for expenses for bills that have to be paid. So car and homeowners insurance is kind of bundled together and due every 6 months. We will pay that next in November, and with the second paycheck, I set aside $100 for that. Vehicle registration is next that I save every month. We do have registration due in September. Mine for my vehicle was due in May. My husband's daily driver, our farm truck, and three or four trailers, they all come due in September, so that will be due then. And then we have yearly workout subscription and Mint Mobile for our home/extra phone. It's not my kid's phone, but he thinks it is. Setting aside $10. That actually comes due in September as well, so I'll have to do some looking to see if I have enough budgeted to renew that. Okay, so that puts our fixed expenses at $736.21. If I subtract that from the $29, $27, and 77 cents that we started with, that leaves us left to budget of $2,191.56, which I will carry down here to our variable. And so this actually isn't variable. I switch variable and savings, but I don't always write it there. I just need more spots. So this is actually our saving category. First up is our emergency fund. We are doing the Save 2025 and 2025, and I pick a couple boxes, 1 or 2 or 3 or whatever each time we get paid. And it's kind of in a similar range, but it's $75 with this paycheck that's going to go directly into a transfer to our emergency fund. Next is a vacation sinking fund. We'll get $50. Propane is getting nothing. If you look at our last budget with me, I budgeted $66 and some odd cents to pay the remainder of what I was putting towards I contracted 425 gallons of propane, and I prepaid. I guess I didn't contract. There's two different options, and it's cheapest per gallon if you prepay. So I basically took close to what I had in cash. I actually transposed $1.35 and $1.53, so I messed it up. But so with the last check, we took $66.54 or something to cover the rest of it in that check. So we emptied our propane sinking fund, and that is now a credit on our account for this winter for our heating costs with the company that delivers that for us. We live in the country, if that wasn't clear by that particular discussion. We have an online sinking fund for kids' expenses. Larger expenses for our kids, I took our back to school stuff out of that. We also have a cash envelope that we fund with savings challenges for smaller things, but this is supposed to be saving up for larger things. So $50 is going in there. Into our medical sinking fund, I mentioned we no longer have flex, and it was $133 a paycheck that did get taken out of his check. So now that it's not being taken out automatically, I aim to take $150 each time we get paid and put it in the high yield savings account for that. These three categories of saving are all in cash with binders and savings challenges. So towards Christmas is $40, towards our holiday binder is $15, and towards our binder with minis that funds our cash envelopes and sinking funds is $195 with this check. So let's add up our savings categories. Okay, and that leaves us with $575 total. And if we subtract that from the $2191.56 that we have remaining, it leaves us with $1616.56 left to budget. And then we hop on up to our, let's put that in here, $1616.56. And then we are into our variable expenses, and we do a lot of cash. We do have some extra stuff here, so it's going to throw me off with groceries. I do $3.50 a paycheck, budget on the high side. Spending, my husband and I get $70 a piece to spend on whatever we want. Beauty, which is my pedicure, is $50. I'm not sure that will actually, I usually budget it with a second paycheck and try to go every 4 or 5 weeks, but I just got a pedicure last week. So probably won't need that. $20 for work meals. Drinks is getting $60. Dine out is getting $100. Work meals is specific, like scheduled times when I'm out of town or during certain meetings with my coworkers, we go out to eat as a part of that. Car washes gets $30. Kids allowance gets $18. Amazon subscriptions is like all household stuff. So a whole variety of garbage bags, deodorant, toothpaste, dishwasher pods, floor cleaning, Swiffer stuff, soap, toilet paper, Kleenex, paper towels, all that kind of stuff. And then it just comes on whatever rotating schedule it comes on. This month, and then I go through obviously every time and say, like, do we actually need this, etc., etc. So $89.17 is what our subscriptions are supposed to be this month. Nothing for diesel. That comes out of the first check. We're not back to school yet, so nothing for lunches. Target is my kiddos' pull-ups. Nothing there. Quick Start gas. So I have like essentially gas cards to Quick Start, and one for me, one for my husband. That's how we get gas. And I purchase it through an app that gives a percentage back to our school in a fundraising capacity. And then last year, I think the year before, they gave us half of that onto like preschool tuition and stuff. This last year, 100% of the percentages that we bring back in go to our school lunch account. So I try to use that to offset some of our school lunch bill cost. Medical expenses. If you've been watching any of my videos, I was sick for like 2 weeks, ended up going in and getting an antibiotic for a sinus infection, and that was the copay at the pharmacy for those meds, something that I would have taken out of the flex before. Now I don't have that, and so if they're small enough, I'm cash flowing them, as well as funding, trying to save up, because some point in the future there will likely be a surgery for my husband. It's sort of been put off because it's not a huge deal at this point, but anyway, still saving. And then to miscellaneous, I'm putting $14.98. I bought a gift. My kiddo got invited to a birthday party, and we went and got the kiddo a gift. A lot of parties that we've had or been to regularly or recently are like, no gifts, please. Please don't bring my child any more crap that I have to find a place for. Okay, like I totally get that, but that wasn't the case here, which is totally fine. So we bought her a gift, and I didn't, I was like, it should come out of gifts. I don't have anything in my gifts envelope, so I'm just going to cash flow it here as miscellaneous. So $987.20 is what's here in our variables account, or our expenses. And then if I subtract $16.56 from that, that leaves us with $629.36 left to budget. I am working in a debt binder, trying to balance debt binder with immediate payoff on our Wells Fargo card, which is our final personal debt. And so with what's left here, I'm going to put $300 into the debt binder, I believe, and then $329.36 right onto the card, which does equal $629.36, which leaves us with our zero-based budget. So that is what I have for this video for you today. If you have any questions, as always, leave them below. I'm happy to engage to answer any questions. Sometimes, I tried to explain this a little bit more, but I know that from someone who's been, like, looks at this, you're like, how did you decide all this? And so there's a lot that has been developed over years, because I haven't been zero-based budgeting for years, but I have been budgeting to pay my bills for years. So that part, dividing bills up and getting that logistically where it needs to be divided between our paychecks, was something I was very good at. It was adding in some of the sinking funds and the savings and budgeting out the variable categories to bring this down to zero so that we're not overspending. That's what I'm newer to since starting this channel. So anyway, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you enjoyed this and would like to come back, please hit that subscribe button. And we'd love to have you back again next time, and see you then. Bye.